Okay, so here we go. Here's the disc spring tool installed on the female rotor side. Uh, just getting all the bolts in, and I thought I'd show you what happens if you try to torque up the lock nut without compressing the spring. Let's see how this goes. Man, I work slow. Here we go. The bolts are in. It's not compressed. Setting the correct amount of clicks on the torque wrench. Special tool going in. Kind of a tight fit, but we'll get there. Okay, let's find something. Everything's a hammer. There we go. Into place. Now, there's a rookie mistake. Let's get the torque wrench. Tool's falling down. This time I'm going to actually install the lock nut before I install the lock nut tightening tool. It seems to work better that way. There we go. Get it on the threads. Lock nut tool going in. So this lock nut is pushing against the inner race on the thrust bearings and on the roller bearing. That's all the way in that you saw in the previous video. There we go, just tightening it up. There we go. Torque wrench has already been set to the required amount of clicks. No. Still got some adjusting to do. Okay. Okay, so we're tightening up. I think this one requires 3 clicks. 1, 2, 2, 3. Yeah, 3 clicks. And now we're going to tighten up, or we're going to load up the spring. So this lock nut is going to be tightened up to 250 Newton meters, and you'd think that would be enough to pull it all the way in. And why do we need the disc loading tool? Anyway, we're loading up the spring now. Let's fast forward. This is a tedious process because you have to keep going around and around and around and until all the bolts are all the way in. You might notice I'm giving it a click and then a little bit extra. That's just to speed up the process in the end here, to get the final click, click. See, click, nothing moves. Click, nothing moves. Nothing moves. Nothing moves. And finally, yeah, that's it. It's in place. Now, tool, make sure it's engaged. Got the torque wrench, so that's 250 Newton meters. And here we go. Let's put in one. That's almost half a rotation extra, just by compressing the spring. So, okay, now we're gonna unclick it. removing clicks. So the reason why I tighten it up to the correct torque without installing the lock washer, you know, it kind of seems awkward like doing the same thing twice, but the reason is the inner races, they are stuck on the shaft. So if it isn't pushed all the way in, then you install the lock washer, then the lock nut, and then you start torquing it up. The lock nut is twisting on the lock washer, while on the other side it's stuck on the inner race of the thrust bearings. And I have done this before. It's a rookie mistake. What you end up doing is like you're squashing and twisting the lock washer and everything. Yeah, it breaks, and then you'll just have to remove it, get another one, and put it on. So always torque it up to spec without the lock washer. Then remove the nut, install the lock washer, and then just torque it up to spec again. Okay, so we're ready to apply clicks. 1, 2, 2 clicks is enough for the final installation. So I'm unwinding or taking the tension off the torque wrench because it's gonna be a little while before I'm gonna use it again. If I'd been doing like a lot of torquing, I just leave it to the setting, but it's gonna be a couple of hours before I'm gonna use that one again, so I like to untorque it. Now we're gonna remove the tool and remove the disc spring compression tool. So I'm removing the bottom bolt first because it's cramped. There's not much space close to the capacity piston housing, so it's easy to just unscrew it and then take it out by hand, and then we'll do the other ones. I'm trying to do it somewhat evenly because, yeah, as you can hear, there's quite a bit of tension on the tool. Okay, so the bolts are out. Oh, there's another one. Come on. You can do it. Remember, you need to take out all the... come on, get it together. You need to remove all the bolts before you can take the tool out. You got this. Come on. You can do it. There we go. Good boy. Okay, distance ring going out. what are we doing next? Let's see. There we go. Okay, it's time to find the tab on the lock washer that fits. It's easiest to bend down. Now I'm gonna have some problems here because my tab washer tool is bent out of shape and I haven't made a new one yet. So this is gonna be a pain in the butt. So like I said, my tool is bent out of shape and I ended up just doing it off camera. And now we're getting ready to check the outlet end clearance of the male rotor. There's the spacer and there's also a balance piston on that one that hasn't been installed yet. So as you noticed, it slid right in. That's because during this operation I'm doing it without the O-rings installed. Also on the cover the O-rings are off, slides right in. Gonna get the bolts in. The permissible outlet end clearance on this compressor is 0.1 to 0.125 millimeters. We'll see once I get all these bolts in. I'm going to take you over to the other side where I have my dial gauge set up. Just gotta do this first, and then we'll bring the camera right around. There we go. There's the dial gauge. I'm still struggling to get this camera to focus properly, so let's get it set up. Let's get it straight. There we go. Straight. Nope, nope. Fighting to try to get it into focus. Give up. Let's just set it. So I set it to 0. There we go. Now we're going to tighten up. Yeah, still trying to find focus. There we go. 0. 0. Give it a few taps to make sure it doesn't move around. Now we go to the other side and we start torquing up the bolts on the strut bearing covers. So I've applied a couple of dots on the dial there to show you where I want the needle to go. Point 005. Point 00, what's that? 7. Point 1. Point 11. Point 11.5. Just about. So I'm happy with that. That's the male rotor, the driving rotor. Happy. So now we're gonna reset and go to the female rotor or the non-driven rotor. There we go. Non-drive rotor. I don't know. Are we even allowed to call them male and female rotors anymore? Not sure. So this is the non-drive rotor. Let's be political correct. Struggling. Focus. Set it to 0. Give it a few taps to make sure it's at actual 0 and not almost 0. And I'm guessing there we are. We have the dots. So you can see it. It's the whole compressor moving. So the dial gauge is attached to the compressor by a magnetic foot. So the measurements are correct. There we are. 0.125, 0.13, 0.14. and it keeps moving, and we're outside of spec, so I'm going to have to do some sorry, it just kicked the camera stand. I'm going to need to do some adjustments here. But before we continue, I just have to do this. It's, what should I call it? Proof of concept. Hey, it rotates. Not going to kick the camera stand around again, so walk around. There we go. Oh, it rotates. Beautiful. So, thumbs up for that. Now we're going to recheck the female rotor, or like I said, the non-driving rotor. There we go. We're releasing tension this time. You see the dial gauge is going to move the opposite direction, so this is me releasing tension. Yeah, there we go. 0.14, 0.3, 0.14. Yeah, we're getting 0.15. That's 0.0. I'm not good at math. You do the math. 0.03 outside. 0.025 outside of spec. Some people would probably just say, yeah, it's close enough, but you know, also I'm kicking the camera stand again, so I like to do it by the book. I have to put my name on the end report, and that's why it's important. Like, what you do, you have to be able to put your name on it, if it's good or bad. There we go. We're going to recheck the male. No, sorry, the drive end shaft. Again, you can see we're going in the negative on the dial gauge. It's probably going to change from the first measurement, because when I first pushed it in, it was also locked against the female rotor, non-driving rotor. There we go. Rechecking the non-drive rotor. I've made some adjustments that probably isn't in the book, but it's what comes with 20 years of experience. And I'm not going to show it to you, because I want you to do it by the book. And in 20 years, you learn all the dirty tricks, then you can do them. There we go, 0.1. 0.12. That's pretty much spot on at 0.125 right there. I'm gonna keep torquing. It's a pain with the focus, but yeah, it's at 0.125. I'm good with that. Moving on. These are the anti-rotation bolts, just removing the seals. I believe they are called, well, I would call them Dovty rings. I don't know if they're called Doughty or Dovty or whatever. Just cleaning the gunk off the threads, removing the old seals. It's like power tools make everything easy. New sealing ring installed. We're gonna put thread locking, Loctite. There we go. Installing the bolts into the casing. So these two bolts are there to prevent the spacers from rotating. I don't see the need for them really, since you get pressure, like the thrust bearing spring is pushing against this cover. There you see the bolt sticking down, and then making sure it's still there. Okay, let's bring back the spacer. You see there's a groove in the spacer. That's going to engage in that bolt. This spacer doesn't have any O-rings on it, since, yeah, and you see there's cutouts for the oil channels. There's an oil channel all the way back there with the bearing, and one in front there. So we're just gonna push this in. Like I was starting to say, this spacer doesn't have any O-rings on it. There we go. Because there's no balance piston. So here, second one is in. This is the male rotor, and now we're going to install the male spacer. This one, now you see O-rings in its place. You see the groove. I've marked it with my marker and marked the position of the bolt, because it can be kind of tricky to get this lined up. And there's a balance piston in the middle, so for this one you can't really like look inside and see that you've hit the bolt, so you have to line it up. And now the most versatile tool ever made, thrust bearing spring compression tool, comes back into use. You can hear me in the background there just removing the bolts, so I'm just gonna push this in. There we go. The clunk sound means it's where it should be. At least I hope so. Okay, there we go. So you see, I can't check if it's engaged the bolt, but I'm pretty sure it has. You see there's the labyrinth seal, or balance piston seal. We're going to apply some Loctite locking compound and then push it into place. There's no O-rings on this one. Also, if you notice the two small holes at 9 o'clock and 3 o'clock position there, those holes can also give you an indication that it's level or that it's engaged. This is the larger balance piston. I was just showing you there's no locking or driving nut on this one. It's going to be tightened steel to steel with the lock nut. So just gonna need some special tools to wiggle this into the correct position. Yeah, I've made this tool myself. It works with pretty much all the Howden compressors from 127 up to the 204. I'm not sure about 255. But it has two different set of threads on it, so I can use it for all these covers and fiddly stuff. No need to pre-tighten this one. We're gonna go straight and install the lock washer. Lock nut coming up. And we're going to apply the correct amount of clicks on this one. So we don't have too many of the shorter compressors, the 110. So I'm going to take a tick in the book, and there we go, 210 Newton meters for this one. There we go. Adjusting to the correct amount of clicks. Focus. Give me focus. Okay, here we go. There we go. And let's see, how many clicks are we gonna give this one? Anyone care to guess? Are we doing 2 clicks or 3 clicks or just the one? That's 1 click, 2 click, 3 click. Yeah, we did 3 clicks. Okay, so that's really secured into place. And now this is the final assembly of the thrust bearing covers with the O-rings in place, and everything is ready. So are we gonna get it this time? 0.05, first click. You usually get an indication by the second click. There we go. Come on, second click. Is that 0.08, 0.1? There we go, up. 0.12. Gotta check and again, kick the camera stand just to make sure. There we go. Going back to the drive rotor. Okay, setting it up. We're gonna check the male side. Dots are in place. 1 click. 2 click. 3 clicks. 4 clicks. 5. That's all the bolts, so I'm just going to do another pass. Make sure they're all in. And we got, what do we have? 0.115, I believe. I have pictures. 0.115. I'm happy with that. Yep. That guy walking around in the video is going to give you 1 thumbs. Oh, 2 thumbs up. Yeah, he's happy too. So now we're just gonna check. Oh, it rotates. Yes, we did something correct. There's a piece of gasket down there on the left side. There we go. Volume slide cover adjustment screw. Tap. That's all there is to it. 2 O-rings. Gonna snap those off and we're gonna clean it off. Clean up the crud on the outside, wipe it off, and we're going to push our rag down into the grooves as well, because it looks kind of grungy. Like this is you set it 1 time and then it stays there. So sometimes it gets dirty, but it's not. There's no wear and tear on this part. Just clean up. This isn't like a sealing surface or anything on this cover. It's just makes me feel good to polish off like burnt oil and stuff that's gathered over the year. This compressor is actually, it's over 20 years old. This is the 2nd major overhaul for this compressor. So that means I'm getting old. Also, something I like to do on all covers is just take this gasket scraping knife and remove the paint along the edges that has crept in. Especially on the thrust bearing covers, I didn't show you that. because the thrust bearing covers, when they're tightened all the way up to torque, it's steel versus steel with the body. So I like to remove all paint residue and run this stuff so nothing gets between and messes up the outlet and clearance or gives you false readings. Polish, 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 polish. Just it's not factory new, it's overhauled, refurbished. Doesn't have to be shiny shiny. Gotta make it look like someone has worked on it. There we go, cleaning fluid, brake cleaner. Just thought I'd show you how this thing works. So you see, there's a screw, there's a spindle, there's the two flat surface. You might have seen it earlier in the video when I was doing the underclearance. You can see the volume slide. So counterclockwise, you push this in, clockwise, you take it back out. I don't remember the numbers, 2.4, 2.5, or 5.4, 5.5, something like that. I don't have it in my head right now. There we go. Let's get some O-rings. There we go. Put some oil on them. Just rub it in. Slide them on. You'll get the outside one first, then you slide the other one right over, and then you just push the whole thing back into its slot, apply some oil, and then clunk. There we go, that's it. Okay, final O-ring coming in, get some oil on it. Clunk, final push, here we go. And now you can see the back side of the balance piston. There's the slot where the flat surfaces have to fit into. There we go. Let's do this. Leroy Jenkins, come on, work faster. Okay, so that's it for now. I need more parts. Let's go shopping! Woo! Waka 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 waka. Give me parts, give me parts. Let's see. Alright, I'll take one of these. And I'll take one of these. Looking good. Let's go. I need one more thing. Okay, let's stop. I need something from here. Gasket, suction gasket. There we go. I'll take that one. Alright, put it on my tab. I'm famous. Let's get out of here. Let's run faster. There we go. Okay. Still rotates. That's a good sign. Oil on the shaft, oil on my fingers. Or maybe I'm just weak. I'm not sure. So there's the tab. This is going to engage in the balance piston on the suction side. Got my tool ready. There's the tab where it engages with the pin. Let's get it on. Put it in. Don't forget the ever important lube. If things are getting tight, lube it up. There we go. Wiggle, wiggle, wiggle. A lot of wiggling. Almost there. There we go. Yeah. The back and forth action just ensures that it's engaged with the pin. Now we rotated it, and you can see there's another pin, and this is going to engage with the shaft seal, the mechanical seal. So what I like to do, this seal comes in a Ziploc bag, so I just fill it up with oil, because I don't like touching the mechanical seals. Make sure you get oil on the entire thing, including the O-rings on the inside. Just mash it around. I'm not wearing gloves for this. And then you see there are several holes around the circumference of the seal, but we're going to use the bigger hole, and it's going to engage in that pin back there on the balance piston. I use the Ziploc bag. Push it in. Push it in. Just trying to make sure, okay, there's the pin, there's the hole, and I pull the bag slightly off to make sure that it doesn't get caught behind the seal. And then the wiggle wiggle to make sure it's engaged in the pin. Yep, there we go. Now we're getting ready for the stationary ring. There's the shaft seal cover. Unwrapping the stationary ring. I'm going to be using the same Ziploc bag as I used for the rotating part, since it's already full of oil. Trying not to touch the carbon surface. Just get it in there, slather it around, and this is in two pieces, and there's also an O-ring between the steel casing and the sealing surface, so I take them apart. Make sure not to scrape the carbon sealing surface against the steel surface, just to get oil on the O-ring. It's kind of a pain, so you can hear me fiddling around with it. I'm trying to. There we go. Just gotta push the. There's also a pin. Just gotta push it back into place. Oops, almost dropped it. That would have been disaster. So yeah, and then there's the issue with the lighting and the focus on this camera. Yep, back into place. And I'll show you, this one also has one large hole, one small. There's a pin, and there's a large hole and a small hole. We're going to use the large one because the small one isn't centered, and now it's the fiddly part. Just looking from the underside to make sure the hole lines up with the pin. saw me sticking my fingers down in the middle and just using pressure on the inside. So I didn't touch the sealing surface. There we go, pushing it down. That's it. And now apply liberal amounts of oil. You can never have enough lubrication, especially on the mechanical seals. Okay, there we go. Getting the cover back on. Hands shaking, making sure that the shaft doesn't hit the sealing surface. Push it in and apply bolts. Okay, moving on to the slide valve piston or capacity piston. So, first remove the old U-sleeve for sealing using my O-ring hook tool. Makes a small job of it. Apply liberal amounts of oil. We go, the oil ghost is going to come, and there we go. And just spread the oil out. There we go. Oh yeah, that feels good. So apply oil to the U-sleeve or sealing ring, whatever you want to call it, and then work it around. It's kind of a tight fit, but you can do it. You can do it. And I'm going to turn the volume or the background volume up, because once this slots into place, you might think it's in place, but it's not. If you look at the inner diameter, you can see there's still a lot of glue visible. That means it's not in place. I like to use my thumb. You hear the click? Yeah. That's the inside slotting into place. I've read somewhere that you should roll it on a flat surface or whatever, but I like to use my thumb. So now I don't have the slide valve piston installing tool, if there even is one. So I'm going to use the capacity piston cover to make sure it goes in straight. I've done this. I've tried a couple of times using a dead blow mallet or rubber mallet to do this, but it's so hard to get this straight. You see, I'm struggling to get it to stay in place while I'm getting the cover ready. It's doing this without any assistance. Yeah, it's an easy way to destroy U-sleeve. I don't have the exact price, but I believe an inspection kit where this seal is included is around like $250, 200 pounds, 250 pounds. So yeah, just take your time, get it right. There we go. So I'm just gonna tighten this up. This is an exercise in patience, because you have to get it in straight, and you have to keep watching that it's going in straight all the way around. So just give me a few seconds, and I'll just speed this up a little bit for you, so you don't have to watch the full 5 minutes of me doing this. There you go, speed coming up. Tap it in. It's okay, we remove the cover. Cover's off, and now I'm going to use the minimum spacer ring to push it in further. This is a pain with the shorter rotors, the 110, because the slide valve slide valve rod is so far back. I'm installing my special tools again in the hopes of getting this in straight. And there's a pin and a groove on the back side that has to match. So I've been using these tools trying to get it in place. I couldn't feel if it was in place. So what I've done here, I've installed the cover again. I'm just using compressed air to push the slide valve back to make sure that the slide valve piston is connected properly to the slide valve rod, and it is. So yay! Now this lock nut doesn't have a locking washer, so you tighten it into place. I like to, when you remove it, you install it the exact same way again. And there's a hole drill that's threaded. I think it's a M5, and there's a locking screw that you put back in. As you can see, I applied some thread locking. Not the kind you can never remove. It's medium hard, just to make sure it doesn't fall out during operation. And now there are two cover bolts for the discharge cover or thrust bearing cover housing, and the suction cover that's on the underside. Time to do some yeah, so because of the short rotors, you can't get to them without lifting the compressor up. Now, I'm not a fan of working under a hanging load, but this compressor kind of, yeah, you kind of have to get to it, unless I build like a special rack or something. So we're just going to apply one click each. Come on, give me a click. That's one click. Happy with that. Now to the other side. Don't fall down. And we're going to apply one click, and one click only. There we go. I don't know, you probably heard of the Man of Steel, and I'm going to show you here in a second. I'm not the Man of Steel, but I might be his fourth cousin removed, also known as the Man of Jelly, or Jello. I don't know how to pronounce it. Jello. Yeah, let's call it Jello. So here you go. I hate working under hanging loads. There we go. That's a mix of nerves and coffee. Nerves and coffee. Brrr. So here we go. 20-year-old compressor, all done, back together, all in one piece. And there we go, so shiny, yay!